amazing product. It's basically a powder-coated, blown-on plastic to refinish a pool and or a new construction. Now, a new construction, there still has to be a plaster subbase for it to work on, so it's not like you put it directly on raw guy. It can also be used to resurface a fiberglass pool, resurface fiberglass steps in a vinyl liner pool. There's a few key things that have to happen though for it to work properly. And we answer this question a lot. Why am I getting spalling? Why am I getting peeling? What's wrong with this product? And it's not the product, it's the prep in the installation. So I just have a couple panels here, and I wanted to talk specifically about whether you can see it or not. At least in words, I'll be able to hopefully get you to understand. Now, if we're doing a new pool, plaster finish may look like this before we then acid wash it and etch it to be able to put the EcoFinish over it. But on an existing pool, if then you're looking to resurface, you're going to have some level of wear initially. But for the EcoFinish to adhere properly, you want a chemical bond, which is going to happen with the epoxies, but you also want mechanical bond. You want the surface to have enough profile on a microscopic level so that the material is not just bonding to the surface, it's getting into the pores of the existing surface. So what happens is you take the plaster, finish it, and you expose it with acid to create that profile. You're opening up the pores of the concrete, because as this was troweled on initially, it's as smooth as possible. You're getting very little wear and tear, or very little water penetration into it. But we want to be able to get the EcoFinish epoxy bases into the plaster finish. So when it's acid washed, we're looking at turning this surface into 60 to 80 grit sandpaper is about equivalent of what you want it to feel like. And if it's any less than that, if it's smoother than that, it needs to be acid washed again or etched so that you get a good bond profile. Otherwise, what happens is you can float that epoxy over it, but eventually it's going to want to delaminate. It's going to want to bubble, it's going to want to peel. So this is an example of a plastered finish, which then this one over here is, it's been acid washed, and if we feel the surface, that one to this one, now this one also has a first base of epoxy, so it's a different color now. But this surface is very, very aggressive. This is probably what an awful lot of pools that have a 20-year-old plaster finish feel like, just for time. The concrete, the cement that's in the original blend is actually wicked out from the pool, and it leaves this very rough finish. You can see my fingers are gripping to it. And that's oftentimes, as a side note, a pool that gets a rough plaster finish like this becomes really aggressive on your fingers and your toes when you're swimming in it. But that's the finish you want to use, you want to have as a substrate underneath the next layer. And so that's probably the biggest part of the problem with the installation end, is rushing through this, being too much in a hurry to get the surface prepped to this point. The next critical point, next critical piece. Shooting the material and doing all of that is one thing, but it's all in the prep work to make it stick and stay. Once this is prepped properly, it's been acid washed to get this grip and to get this profile. If you look at it from a side profile, there's a lot of grooves and a lot of roughness because you've really taken that surface and broken it up. Very next layer is this, it's called a 50-50 blend. It's 50% epoxy and 50% acetone. When that's rolled on, it has to be rolled on enough to penetrate into this to get that epoxy into the pores of the plaster finish. Once it's in there and it can harden up and set up, now the subsequent layers on top are bound right to the plaster finish. A lot of times what we've found out is if there's not enough 50-50 put onto the pool, we're not getting enough penetration in, and that's when we're having delamination problems with pools. In this particular case, a 50-50 blend must sit 12 to 14 hours. If you come back and you see the surface 50-50 is put on, it takes about 12 to 14 hours to dry, ideally. The manufacturer says up to 24, but EcoFinish themselves recommend 12 to 14 hour set time, dry time. And the surface should appear fairly glossy. If it's very dry in appearance, it means that you don't have enough 50-50 on there and you really need to do it again. Because if there's not enough 50-50 underneath, then you're never going to get a really good bond of the material. So this is approximately what it should look like when it's been 50-50 epoxy. 12 hours from now, there's another 100% layer of epoxy that gets rolled on. And as that gets tacky and starts to harden is when the material goes into the surface. So if you as a homeowner are wondering the process, hopefully that gives you a few steps further along. And if those steps aren't being taken and done properly, you're likely to have issues moving down the road. So always make sure from an installer standpoint, but equally from a customer or homeowner standpoint, that preparation is being done. Because without the prep work underneath, no matter what we put on the top, you're asking for